has not been a fun 5 days for me.
Well, hopefully this will put you in high spirits.
The net of this is, do not pop ibuprofen like it's going out of fucking style and drink Monster Energy drinks like they're fucking going out of style, because you will trash your fucking stomach in like 3 months flat. The only good thing that's come out of it is I've lost 7 pounds. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. You guys want to talk about the 100 now?
I guess.
Okay, so I'm not going to do the regular opening because I'm sick and tired of saying it, because it's like, hello and welcome to the Agriculture Podcast, where we talk about farm equipment. It's so boring. Agriculture, dude. Agriculture. Do I have to explain to you?
Wait, so are we going to get into Farm Station and the cannibalism? Is that where this is going?
We'll get into Farm Station and cannibalism when we talk about Season 3. But this is May We Geek Again, Episode 4, where we're talking about the last 5 episodes of Season 1. My name is Jennifer. Yeah. I'm sorry.
My name is Joe.
And my name is Shaheen.
I'm sorry, guys.
This is worse than what would have been if you just did the regular one. But I'm with you, Jen. I support you in trying to get away from that, what we had before.
Well, thanks. I guess disclaimer should be that I am on opioid drugs right now. So if I just kind of like
legally,
I might add. Yeah, I'm going to disclose. Hey, guys, I'm just doing lines of coke off my computer right now.
Wait. Coke is not an opioid.
Yep. No, it's not. All right. Totally derailed.
Nitpicky. Anyway, so this is episode 4 of May We Geek Again. We talk about the 100 and stuff. Oh, so I just want to shout out and remind everybody to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at May We Geek Again. We're also on Facebook at May We Geek Again. So if you guys want to stay up to date on what we're talking about when we'll be publishing new podcasts, follow us on Twitter. Twitter's the best way. Facebook is the second best way. So I guess let's get into it. We're talking about the last 5 episodes of Season 1. And those are Unity Day, written by Kim Shumway and Kira Schneider. I Am Become Death by TJ Brady and Rashid Newsom. The Calm by Bruce Miller. And then We Are Grounders Part 1 by Tracy Bellomo and Akila Cooper. And then We Are Grounders Part 2, written by Jason Rothenberg. See how much better I am when I can just like read aloud from a piece of paper? So much better. We come to the end of Season 1, guys. And for some reason, Season 1 holds this special place in my heart. Even though it has its issues, even though it started off really weakly as far as being a good show, it came across as your typical CW show. There's something really wonderful about Season 1 of The 100, and I think it's because it's so well encapsulated, and that the real focus of this is the relationships between the 100. There isn't a lot of world building going on. There isn't a lot of far-flung stories going on. So I think that from a which is my favorite season perspective, this might be my second favorite season after Season 2. What are your guys, when you guys came to the end of watching this for the second time for Joe and probably the 30th time for Shaheen, well, what were your thoughts when you came to the conclusion of this season again?
I forgot kind of how much tension that they were able to build in those, like, especially like sort of the last 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. And, getting into the last actual episode, knowing how it's going to turn out. Like, obviously I know where Season 2, picks up or whatever, but I forgot how much just really good storytelling tension that they sort of built, especially since we got to meet Anya, and like she's this, mysterious and stoic character, and then whatever I don't even know the grounder's name, but the guy who comes in and takes over for her.
Is that Tristan?
Tristan?
Yeah.
Did he have a
Tristan.
name?
Yeah, Tristan, I believe.
And sort of seeing that, there's this other, like, there's, that sort of gave the indication that there's, a huge grounder world that we're not even aware of. We kind of found out that there is a commander, this sort of thing. So I was just I forgot how much I really liked the finale. And in some ways, I mean, I would rank the finales as season 3 being my least favorite. And I think I would rank this finale as being my favorite over season 2. Because of sort of the suspense that they were able to build and then launching us right into Clark being, waking up in this sterile white room and not knowing what the fuck is going on. I actually really, really liked that.
Shaheen, what about you?
I agree with what you said about it having a special place. And I kind of wish that I could erase my mind and go back to when I didn't know everything that was coming and every dialogue and everything. And I could just watch the whole thing again. But I often watch shows, when I rewatch them, I watch them for the sort of inconsistencies or, aspects that show clearly that the writer or the writers didn't know where they were going with the story and they kind of changed it later on. And it happens all the time. I mean, even the first Star Wars, when George Lucas wrote it, he didn't mean to do a lot of things that he ended up doing. Darth Vader wasn't supposed to be, for example, a certain character's father. But anyway,
I think you can spoil
like
that.
30 damn
I
years
don't want to
later.
spoil Star Wars. But anyway,
Luke's father. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Shit.
Right. It's on you.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, but the 100 always impresses me. The point is the 100 always impresses me because it's hard to find those things. I mean, there are some things that they dropped and never picked up again, like the 2-headed horses.
Yeah.
I love those. But, even like with mutations, they've been consistent that there are mutations. So everything is pretty consistent, and I'm impressed by that. That's all I'm trying to say.
If we're talking about some of the key themes that we're going to be looking at for this season and probably throughout the rest of the seasons as well, what are some of you guys' favorite themes introduced or touched upon in this episode?
So we talked about this idea of war and how, it's hard to pinpoint responsibility in war, when the war starts and who's at fault, etc. And one of the things that happens, not about war in general necessarily, but individual events, like when we hear there was a massacre in a village or something, this happened, like I'm talking about real life. And we hear these people are put on trial, and then the results are sometimes surprising. I think sometimes it's because, and I'm not saying there is no injustice or anything, but sometimes it's because if you were really there, it would be really hard to say what happened, who shot first, but all we know is that something went down and it got ugly. And I really like this bridge scene because it satisfies that. And it's really hard to get this right in a movie. But the way it was shot, and it was like they were already paranoid. It was kind of vague. It kind of looked like the grounders were about to shoot, but it was never confirmed. It was kind of unclear. So it was really well done. And it goes with that theme of complications and responsibility, both causally and morally. So I like that.
I think one of the things about the bridge scene that kind of gets glossed over when people consider it is that when Anya says, your people launched missiles that burnt down a village of ours. Clark's at first like, that's not what we had intended to do. Those weren't missiles. Those were flares to let our people know that we were still alive. But then, Clark's like, but I can see your point. So Clark doesn't posture up and try to be all tough with Anya. She's very conciliatory and willing to have a discussion and compromise in this meeting. And had they not been both extremely paranoid of one another and brought their back up, had trigger happy Jasper and grounders and trees with arrows cocked and ready to go, some real headway could have been made here. But of course, that doesn't lead to really good storytelling now, does it? So I think it's really important to note that, not only was Clark chosen as the right person to go to this by Lincoln, because Lincoln was pointedly asked by Finn, I believe it was, who should go to either Finn or Octavia, who should go and meet Anya. Lincoln said Clark. He knew that Bellamy was not the right person for that conversation. So yeah. I think that was just an interesting point of that conversation on the bridge. I think we had some pretty interesting world building moments that filled out a little bit of what life on Earth and up on the Ark was like. So, Joe, what were some of your favorite world building moments of these 5 episodes?
The one that there was a few. One that kind of definitely jumps to mind was when the Grounders kidnap Finn and Clark and bring them to this, I don't know, like cement room or whatever, cave. And I guess the little girl that had been blown up on the bridge was revealed to be Anya's second. And I think that sort of really drove home how different these two sort of like groups of people were. But then also in some ways very similar, because she's talking to, essentially children, kids, Clark and Finn, who, were set to die, basically, sort of in just like a technicality of like, oh, well, they first have to turn 18 before we can like send them out into space to die. And Clark thinks that this little girl being part of sort of this war culture as being this very sort of savage and ruthless thing. Well, what about Charlotte? Like that little girl was about the same age as Charlotte, or, give or take a couple of years. How sort of different, are they really? And I think that was probably kind of a point that they were trying to make, that there isn't really childhood in these cultures.
Yeah. As soon as you started talking about that little girl, the thing that popped into my mind was Charlotte. I'm like, what really separates these two cultures other than the pretense of civilization, right? Because once you strip away the pretense of civilization, aka you send the delinquents to the ground, they can do anything that they want, whatever the hell we want. So it's kind of like Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, where you send Kurtz off into the wilderness to do stuff, and he becomes a savage and becomes an awful, awful human being. Well, once you leave society and leave the shackles of what a civil human being should be behind, you can become anything. And I think having a little girl as a second to a great warrior is probably better than having a little girl going off and slicing people's, lopping people's heads off. I think that's a better society, because you are teaching a child to survive in a very harsh environment versus, well, let's just let Charlotte run off and do whatever the hell she wants and not, have any sort of mentorship or supervision over her. So I think I think that's kind of a cool and interesting parallel that I never would have really thought about before rewatching season 1. But yeah, that scene was interesting too, especially when you find out a little bit more about who Anya was and who her second was.
Right, exactly. And like that, that's something that I'm a little miffed, I guess, that we won't really we probably won't really get into, especially now that sort of like the Lexa, almost Grounder commander storyline is kind of wrapped up probably, is how old was Lexa when she, was a second, and how old was she when she was then pulled to become, a possible commander potential. I think that those are like questions that I'm a little sad that they're more nebulous, because it would be, I find that part of the world building to be really, really interesting. Because there's no way that Lexa, if she was, 11 or 12, that, she never like got stabbed or something like that, during Grounder training. So people would have known that she was a Nightblood. And so I'm curious when, all of these different types of training begin for these kids.
I want to say that I like that scene too. I like this whole setup that starts with this episode called Calm, where, you have this sort of two world setup that goes back and forth between like the world of the sky people and the grounders, roughly speaking, or it's like Mount Weather and the ground, or and usually one of them is very technologically advanced and the other one is not, so you get like a parallel. two parallel stories, and it's really interesting in different ways. So I like that a lot, and I like that we got some time with the Grounders. And while I agree with you guys that there's a lot of hypocrisy, like moral hypocrisy on both sides, and a lot of holier than thou attitude, I do want to say that I feel like I'm stating the obvious, but the Grounders are not nice people. And we'll come back to this when we get to season 3. I think this becomes very important.
But
I don't
These
know why you
people,
started
I mean, where do I start? Like
Like, are
these
Skaikru
people
nice
are
people?
not they have a very violent culture. They have a very twisted sense of justice, and their solution to everything is stab it. Like these, I mean, we can go into the details. Like they spear someone, almost kill him, and then string him up as a warning. They crucify people randomly. They have no sense of this is a civilian, this is a militant, this is a kid, this is a grown up. They just kill people randomly, and we give them a free pass. I think the Grounders get a free murder pass in this show and I think that really that's concerning, because I think from the point of the viewer, that does mean that you're putting them in a lower place, where you're looking down on them by saying, they're Grounders, they can't help it. No, every time they kill someone, it counts. I mean, what would you say if the Skaikru randomly killed a kid in the woods and kidnapped 2 others, and then threatened to murder one of them if the other one doesn't heal someone that they want healed? Like if the Sky people did this to a bunch of Grounder kids, we would have a completely different reaction.
But
but did we though? Like when they in season 3, when they went and murdered an entire Grounder army?
Yeah, we did.
Like,
I mean, we were like, oh my god, what horrible people.
no, I thought they were
like
horrible
we didn't
too.
just watch Grounders blow up 49 people for no reason. For absolutely no reason. Like it's.
Well, I think
we should note both sides of the situation.
Well, no, I think obviously the Grounders are kind of set up to be like the quote unquote savages that are technologically are not advanced, are warlike, blah blah blah. But Skaikru, again, I'll go back to that whole, just because you have the robe of civilization on doesn't mean that you're actually any better. Because if you commit a crime on the Ark, no matter how petty, if you're above the age of 18, you're floated. Nobody questions that among the people in Skaikru. So
right, but notice it's a law, right? And it's there to deal with lack of resources. And as soon as they come to the ground, according to the Exodus Charter, there is no capital punishment anymore.
But they just
they do it
shock lash people. They just string people up and shock lash them in front of everybody.
Yeah, well,
right.
We'll get
like
to
death
that.
isn't always the worst thing that can happen to you.
So,
but it's also like it's according to the law. It's not for vengeance. It's not it's just because that's the law, and they do it begrudgingly. They're never happy about floating people. Whereas it's very different. I mean, it's different in attitude, and it's different in how it's interpreted. But it's not all about just the quantity. But I think even quantitatively, we can, if we want to count how many people the Grounders are okay with killing. They were trying to wipe out all of these people. I mean, all they've done throughout the series is offer not to wipe them out. So
they view Skaikru as a threat. So it's understandable that if you have a threat that comes into your territory, you want to wipe it out, especially if it's a more advanced
Well, if that's
threat.
understandable, then it should be understandable on both sides. We shouldn't hold them. All I'm saying is we shouldn't hold them to different standards. If it's okay to murder people because you interpret them as a threat,
saying it's okay. I'm never saying
then
it's okay
it should
to
be
murder
okay on
people.
both sides.
Jesus Christ.
Way to take the moral high ground there, Jen.
I'm not. Thanks, because it's really hard to get there. It's like a low bar to jump over. I'm not saying it's
up for nosebleeds.
Okay, so here comes my hurt, angry self. Hurt, angry, drugged out self. I'm not saying it's okay to murder people. I'm not saying that we should hold people to different standards. I'm just saying that the environment is completely different. You're talking about
Sure.
you're talking about two civilizations that have grown that have evolved from one spot and then diverged for 97 years, if you buy that or not, whatever, and then you bring them back together again, you're going to have differences in those societies. And I don't let grounders off the hook for killing people, and I don't let Skaikru off the hook for killing people. They do it for different reasons. They have their own set of reasons. I mean, I'm not going to play the cultural relativism card, because I think that's a fucking load of bullshit. Sometimes you're just fucking wrong, regardless of what your fucking culture is. I just don't think that we can paint one as culpable and the other as, well, they're not as culpable, because they have laws, they have reasons for things. We don't know what the grounder culture is, as far as what are the laws between blood must have blood, what are the rules for cutting people or whatever.
Well, we know
what
it's
are the
okay
laws
to
of
kick
succession?
people out of windows for disagreeing with you.
Yeah, but that's just awesome. I mean, come on.
And then when they do it, it's awesome.
That was the Will
And then
Wheaton
when
law.
someone
Don't be
executes,
a dick.
when someone
Lex is like, I am
executes a
invoking
coup
the Will Wheaton
plotter,
law. Don't be a dick. Boot.
yeah, so you can kick people out of windows and kill them for dissent. But when someone gets executed, when a coup plotter gets executed according to the law, that's somehow like the most horrible thing in the world.
Booted,
so
he was
just
not
double
booted
standards.
He was not booted out of the window for dissent. There was a political reason for booting that guy out the window.
Well, to hold on to her power.
There were multi-layered reasons for booting that guy
power.
out the window. Hey, guys from the other clans, watch me do this.
Exactly.
Who else wants to speak up? There were multiple facets to that action.
To oppress our own people. That was the reason.
To oppress your own people.
I don't know if oppress is the right word necessarily. Like,
all right, guys, we are getting into a rabbit hole. We're still trying to talk about season 1 here. So I want to go into some of my world building moments. I thought Unity Day has been something that's been built upon season after season, and in season 3, it finally comes to a culmination where we actually learn what happens. Unity Day was first talked about in the end of season 1, where we understood that 12 stations came together to form the Ark, and then Finn's like, yeah, well, it's kind of like a bullshit holiday because a 13th station was blown out of the sky. But we never talk about that, guys. So it's kind of like, the weird uncle in the family that nobody ever talks about. So I really liked that part of it. I liked the kind of the ritual of doing the little pledge or whatever they say for it. And then, of course, you have another horrible moment on the 100 where an act of domestic terrorism takes place, and Unity Day gets blown the fuck up by Diana.
Awesome.
Who
again?
Yeah, I mean, Diana, I swear to God.
Here's the thing: if you ever watched Battlestar Galactica, you knew the moment you saw her, you were like,
she's bad news.
That you do not trust her.
News.
She has that face. She's just like.
She's very like
you don't come
feline.
off as sincere. Like when she's like, "That's right, you're gonna see your daughter soon." It's like, I don't know why this makes me uncomfortable. You seem ominous. You sound very ominous.
I will say that I like this as this is more a part of the whole class struggle that goes on in the Ark. I'm kind of sad that the Exodus ship crashed. And Mount Weather made it crash.
Yeah.
We later find out, because I would have loved to see Diana wreak some fucking hell on Earth too, because that would have been some interesting political shit going on down there too. Like, what if Diana had landed and she's like met Lexa before Clark or Abby or Kane ever met Lexa, and she's like, hey, these other guys coming from the sky, they are bad news. So we should huddle up and figure out how to kill them all. Imagine what could have fucking happened. The series could have turned completely left turn and gone in a completely different direction.
It could have, but I would argue that it wouldn't, because and this is getting ahead. Once we sort of meet Lexa and figure out sort of the leader that she is, I don't think she would have fallen for that bullshit.
Oh yeah, she probably would have been like us, like, oh, I saw Battlestar Galactica.
That's exactly right. No, Lexa is a very big Starbuck fan.
Of course she is.
Duh.
it's a good example of being high stakes, because you would normally they wouldn't kill off a villain that they built up to this degree, and so I'm it's kind of great that she dies, because it's not very predictable in my opinion. But yeah, I agree. I would have wanted to see her cause more trouble later. Can we talk about Diana for a second? So I think it's interesting the story of Unity Day, that episode, the way that it's told. Diana is the bad guy in that episode, and she does all this shitty stuff. She blows people off, and she takes off with an Exodus ship. But at the very end, she says something that if you stop and ask, if she hadn't done any of this stuff, what would be the answer to her question? Her question is, look, you don't have enough ships to take down everyone. So you are going to select people. You said it yourself. You have enough to take down 700 people, and you have 2,200 and change. You're going to select 700 people to send to the ground. There's no other way. So who do you think they're going to select? They're not going to select people. They're not going to pick people from Section 17 and lowest skilled or unskilled people, or elderly and such. She's right. Like, Jaha was lying to everyone, and he was basically planning to again decide who lives and who dies.
Can we not, I mean, like, granted, the whole Jaha revelation of how they're going to get down to the ground happened under, lack of oxygen duress. Do we think, though, that, like, I mean, because that would be a solution that could still work.
Yeah.
Like, that is a solution, like, if she hadn't taken the Exodus ship and all that, like, that's a solution that they still could have possibly arrived at. Right. And it would still sort of have the, like, egalitarianness to it of, we don't know which ships are going to blow up. So, best of luck.
Guys, I hate to break in here, but I have to come in with a, well, actually moment.
Oh, shit. Ahead of schedule.
Yes. Well, actually, why is it Jaha who comes up with this plan and not Sinclair or somebody else who's a fucking engineer? I do not understand. Like, I honestly don't understand what Jaha's skills are. Like, could you show me his resume? Is it just like management track, basically? Because I don't.
He's an outside the box thinker. Like, how is that not obvious?
I mean, this wasn't a technically complicated idea that he had. It was just an idea that no one had before, because it was so out there. And that's how Jaha thinks. He's like, look, if we're certain that option A means death, then we're gonna try this other thing that's very unlikely, but at least there's a chance. That's the kind of person that he is.
The kind of person Jaha is he usually has two modes. Either one mode is, I'm going to lie about something, or second mode is, I'm going to pretend that I'm going to sacrifice my life for something. Fuck that guy.
Oh no, Jaha's terrible. Like, let's not. I
don't know what you mean by pretend to sacrifice your life.
Sorry, Danny, who's like the one person member of the Jaha defense squad. She's like, I hate you guys. Delete podcast.
Probably. That's fair. But I would too if I cared about Jaha, but I don't.
But
seriously, I think Jaha's fascinating.
He's fascinating, but he's like his motives are always so questionable, or the way he goes about doing stuff is so questionable. He's like, I'm going to stop lying now, and he keeps lying. It's just Well,
I mean, so far when he was lying, he wasn't alone. I mean, it was the decision of the people in charge to lie. Even after they said we're not going to lie again anymore, they're still lying to people.
Yeah. Well, that's that's what leaders do.
That was the whole council,
That's
Jaha
what leaders
coming up with the idea. Like, Jaha coming up with the idea was just like that was to serve giving his character something to do, I think. Yeah. Like, it was to serve his, like, messiah complex of, leading his people. Like, it's a little heavy-handed and kind of, I wouldn't say out of character, but to your point, Jen, like, what are his qualifications for this? To have come up with his idea. But
I need to see his CV. I mean, I have to, like, I mean, does he have, like...
What are, like, Kane's What does Kane's CV say?
Kane's the enforcer, except enforcer with a heart of gold is really kind of what happens.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move on and talk about character arcs and evolution. So I think Joe, you and I kind of have some of the same interest in some of the character arcs that happened, specifically around Clark. So I think, plenty of people disagree with me. Shaheen and I had a heated conversation on Skype earlier today about this, but to me, well, it was a heated conversation, but because I got heated, I don't know about you, but setting Clark up as the leader of Skaikru, a lot of people are always like, well, Bellamy and Clark are co-leaders, and if you take a really critical eye towards how conversations occur, how certain things break down, especially moving into season 2 and 3. Clark is really the CEO, and Bellamy might very well be a leader, but he's a VP level leader. He's not a C-suite level person. He's going to be a VP level person. And that's not disparaging towards Bellamy. I know the fangirls out there are going to be clutching at their pearls and deleting this podcast. And to that I say, shut off your fangirlism. Shut off your fangirlism and look at what makes Bellamy good in what he does and what makes Bellamy weak in what he does. And the same thing with Clark. Clark is not necessarily great at getting people riled up and believing in something. That's Bellamy's job. What Clark is good at is being the strategic decision maker for Skaikru. And Bellamy is very good at being the tactical decision maker. And he's that guy, if you need that one last push in the face of certain defeat to win the day, he is going to be the guy that's going to get it done. I think the show sets Clark up as the leader and the decider, whatever you want to call it, and Bellamy as a lesser leader at this point, but they're not co-leaders. Now, I will never concede that they're co-leaders because I just don't believe that that's the way it was set up. And at the very end, in We Are Grounders Part 2, Bellamy even hands over the reins of decision making to Clark when they have to run or stay in front of everyone. Bellamy's like, Clark, what do you want to do? And Clark's like, well, we're going to have to stay. And that's, afterwards she comes up with the idea about frying everybody. But to me, it's very, very clearly here that this is kind of where things become very clear in the dynamics between Clark and Bellamy, and Clark and everyone else for that in that respect as well. Joe, what was your thing with Clark?
I actually, I would say, I agree with your points in terms of her being the leader and stuff, but to jump a little bit further back, I think that the emergence of Dark Clark, which, when she slit the Grounder's throat, who was holding her hostage, after kind of, talking to him a little bit and kind of, lulling him into sort of this false sense of, she's not what is essentially a fucking cold-blooded killer. She slits his throat and then holds his mouth shut and lets him bleed out, and just this look on her face of sort of not only is she becoming the leader, but she's also the leader who gets her hands dirty. I think in this world that they have landed in, she doesn't get to be a Jaha leader. She doesn't get to sort of decide things in secret and sort of have these things happen behind closed doors. I think that we see what happens when things get decided behind closed doors, and she doesn't prefer it in season 2 when she and Lexa decide to let Tondisi get attacked by the missile. That was sort of a decision behind closed doors, and she has a lot of guilt and regret about that. But when she is sort of faced with being the person to the sort of buck stops here kind of leader where she's got to slit a dude's throat to save her people, she is down to do that. And sort of the look on her face when she kind of accepts that this is something that she is capable of, I thought it was great. It's kind of one of those moments where you're like, hey, the pretty blonde girl from the CW show is kind of a badass.
That was one of my favorite moments as well, because I was like, oh shit. She not only held her hands over his mouth, she was just like, shh.
Right,
he's not.
It's gonna be okay when you're dead.
He's not gonna cry out. You've got your hands over. Oh man, I mean that was just all right. Shit,
it's good stuff.
She's becoming something different. As far as Shaheen, your character arcs and evolution, you've got a couple here. Pick one.
Pick one.
Okay, I like Kane's evolution throughout this season. And this episode, which episode is it? Is it Calm? Where they're trying to get Jaha out of the place where they're stuck.
Yeah.
That whole journey is like his first trial after the culling happened and after his mom died. And he kind of, as it turns out, he kind of passes the ordeal. At least in his own mind. So it's very interesting. And he says, no one else can die because of me. So he's trying to sort of make up, he's set on this path to make up for what he had been doing. And he's learning when to not follow the law, as he says to Jaha, because up until now has always been about following the law. And now he kind of sees that as his own weakness that led to the culling and everything. So he's kind of trying to find the right balance of when to follow the law and when not to. He says to Jaha that he basically recites this back to Jaha because this is something that Jaha said. So he learned that trait from Jaha. Going back to what you were talking about, what is Jaha's characteristic? One of his characteristics is he has this sense of when not to follow the law. And you might think that, it's this misguided or whatever, but that's how he leads, and sometimes he succeeds. So anyway, Kane is trying to find the balance between himself and Jaha, I feel like. So it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I think also riffing off of that a little bit in my notes, there was a lot of interaction between Kane and Wick in the Calm.
So hilarious. I love that.
Okay,
I love Wick.
So I love
funny.
Wick too, and here's the reason. I don't know, there was some controversy around the actor, blah, 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 whatever. But Wick served a very important purpose that I don't think anybody else does anymore. Not even Monty or Jasper. Wick brought some levity and some humor, and now the show sorely lacks any fun moments. I mean, I can count fun moments on one digit from season 3, and that was the Violent Femmes car scene.
What about Monty and Harper?
That wasn't fun.
That
was the sex. That wasn't fun. That wasn't like, haha, everybody, we're having a light moment.
Not funny, yeah.
That was, we might die at any moment, so let's fuck. That.
I think that the other thing that Wick sort of served, and I actually, to be honest, didn't remember him being in season 1. Like, I remembered him from season 2, but I didn't remember him in these episodes. Is there's a moment where they're all in like the command area, and Wick like jumps in to say something, and I can't remember if it was Sinclair maybe who said that he doesn't know protocol.
Yeah.
And I liked that his character is sort of a guy who's so low on the totem that he would never even be part of a conversation where he would learn, that sort of protocol. Like, he would never even be in the room where he would need to have that. And so I really liked that his character was somebody who was just like, hey, I got something to say. Like, you're not better than me.
Yeah, he's the dude.
But he's so strange though, because he's an engineer though. He's the same as Sinclair. They make
But he's never in the room.
Yeah, he's
with like.
Yeah, he seems
the
to.
Head.
Is he like a low level engineer? Is he disposable?
I think Sinclair is a manager, and so Sinclair goes to the important meetings, and Wick
Sinclair is the chief engineer, and these are. I'm assuming whenever Wick is not on camera, he's just doing, tightening some bolts or something.
No, that's
He's
a
doing
mechanic's
something.
job. That's Raven's job.
Whatever
as Wick
engineers
would be quick to point out. So let's talk a little bit about our favorite scenes. Shaheen, let's start with you.
When they're leaving the dropship, when Bellamy says we need to stay and fight, and Clark says we need to leave, and everybody ends up listening to Clark, and they're leaving. I like that scene. It's like emotional, and it's, I guess, looks great, and visually and everything, and it's an important moment, but it's also misleading because it's set up in a way that, to me at least, it looks like the decision has been made. They're going to leave. This is the story of this episode. Them leaving the camp, going to the beach or whatever. And then there is that ninja star. And then everything turns around. It's like this narrative
surprises you, not just in the overall arc of the season or even half season, but also in each episode there are things that you feel like, oh, this is being set up to be this way, and then it totally changes. But the way that it's shot, it's not shot at all as a temporary thing. Like, they say goodbye, they go to the graves, they debate over, and they're like, all right, this is what we're gonna do anyway. You disagree, that's fine. Yeah, so everything looks like it's finalized, but then there's the ninja star.
I think that's, well, first of all, I would argue that it was more of a Xena chakra, but that's
I was about to
besides the
say, I'm
point.
like, fucking
don't know what that
Xena's
is.
here.
Well, maybe
Well,
that
you're
will
gonna-
be the next show that you watch. I can't even imagine you watching 6 seasons of Xena. Like, I don't even know.
I don't even like.
I don't think you could do that.
I can't, like, how you can't shove like 2 magnets together with like the polar. That's like Shaheen and
Xena
Xena.
Warrior Princess.
Wow.
But to your point about sort of the surprise that sort of happens, and sort of the way that they subvert expectation, A, I would say that ties into my favorite scene, but B, like, in relation to that, I think that was sort of one of also, again, sort of the continuing weak points of season 3, was especially in the finale where, like, we all kind of knew what was going to happen. There was very little sort of like, oh my God, that was totally unexpected. Like, we kind of knew where the season finale was going. And then you're right. In this one, it was like, they're leaving. No, just kidding. Xena Chakra just killed a kid. Like, let's go back and hide. Wait, Anya's in the dropship now. What's, are they going to let her get beaten to death? No, Clark is going to protect her. And now we're just going to, like, roast a bunch of grounders. Like, it was a very good, like, misdirection that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like that it was a tease, because they were going east to the shore, and I think they were gonna try to hook up with Luna.
Right.
Another like, we've been teased with Luna for 3 seasons, and we know that we finally met her in season 3. So I think that was kind of an interesting carry through.
Again, good example of the coherence and the consistency throughout.
Yeah, I mean, the show does some through lines really, really, really well, and then there's some through lines, or there's some plot holes that you just have to be like, they'll just retcon that away, because they didn't consider something, or they wanted to grow the show in a different area, and their past didn't allow them to do it in a cogent way.
Well, do you know of an example where it's actually inconsistent?
Absolutely. So, sorry, didn't mean to, like, jump on in there.
No, go ahead, because I can't think right now.
So when we're, like, at least I would make the argument for this. Like, we obviously don't have, like, an exact concrete example because I am not in the room with the writers or anything like that. But when Tristan comes and takes over for Anya, having known where the season goes, having known where, like, sort of the genius of Anya, how she's such a strong leader, such a strong character, and her bond with Lexa, I could not imagine Lexa sending that douchebag in there. Like, he was just he was just this, like, just awful bro. And I think given where they took the characters in season 2 and later on in season 3, I think that was hugely inconsistent with how the show, like, if we had known Lexa, if we had known, also where they were going to write Anya's character, I don't think that would have happened.
What exactly is the problem? I felt like the commander, we didn't know who he or she was at the time. They decided that Anya is getting her ass kicked by these kids. Let's send a reinforcement unit. And then they put that guy, Tristan, in charge. So I didn't see a lot of... Is it that she's... that's not the way she would treat Anya? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I don't think she would treat Anya that way. I think that she would have had enough trust in Anya's sort of, like, plan and ability to lead. And
but she was failing already. Like, she was... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I would say that's not an
Anya did fail a
inconsistency.
couple
That's
times.
just... Yeah, that's
I
like
think
a
it was just the
motivation
dude's
that we don't know or we don't understand.
Well, see,
it's not necessarily like inconsistency would be if they said like something happened and then later they said it didn't, or something like that.
Yeah, I think Lex is enough of a pragmatic asshole to go, 2 chances, step aside. I'm going to put Tristan in charge. We saw the same thing with the betrayal of Clark at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
We also saw in season 3 when she talked to Titus, you know, how she put duty above her feelings when she allowed the Ice Nation to join her coalition after they had killed Kostya. So again, I think Lex is a very pragmatic leader. She'll probably be like, one or two failures is one or two failures too many. So I'm going to put Tristan in charge. Side note, Tristan, did he appear in Game of Thrones as one of the wildlings? One of the cannibal wildlings? He looks awfully familiar because he's got one of them striking, Jesus Christ, you're always going to be typecast faces. And I feel like, yeah, he's one of the cannibal wildlings.
Wait, what happened to Tristan? Like, I know this is, like, I know I just watched this episode, but, like, I remember Anya running into the dropship, but where the hell was Tristan?
Cain kills him in the premiere season 2.
Yeah, isn't he dragging Finn?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dragging Finn along. So he's like the one guy that there's actually two guys that survived. The one that was guarding Murphy and Tristan. And the one that was guarding Murphy got his shit shot off by Raven.
But it was his poor decision making then that got all those 300 people killed. Like, he's the one then that led the Grounder army to the dropship. What
the fuck else was he going to do? I mean, he has no clue that they have this secret weapon that he's never been exposed to before.
The Grounders just think that they're superior, but they
have superior
the numbers. Yeah,
they have the numbers and they have the fighting experience. So
they have no ability to launch anything that kills people in large numbers. Whereas that's what the Skaikru do really well.
Why don't they build
they don't really have a decision-making process. They just attack whenever they don't like you. they have to win. Sorry, this is just continuing my anti-Grounder propaganda this episode.
Make Arcadia great again. You're like the Donald Trump of the 100. So if we're still talking about favorite scenes, I already touched on Clark slitting that dude's throat. She was absolutely ruthless there. She kicked out his bad knee and then just slit his throat.
How did she know which knee it was?
He was limping. He was limping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you watch him, he was limping. So she kicked out his bad knee and then slit his throat, covered his mouth with her hands, and just watched a man die. What is that? Is it a Johnny Cash song? I shot a man just to watch him die. I mean, that was like, all right.
Yeah.
Clark's not messing around.
Clark is not fucking playing patty cakes. And then so the show.
To be fair, he gave her like no options. He was like, "We're gonna wipe out everyone, all of your people, and you're gonna be our healer." Basically, they were like taking her captive. So it was like, how do you expect her not to kill you? Like, of course she's gonna kill you and get away. Like, you're just. Yeah, so.
Do you not know that she is the fucking protagonist of this show? Like, come on, buddy. Come
Did you not read the script, dude? Seriously.
Come on.
And then my second favorite moment on the run sheet, it's not necessarily my least favorite or my second favorite moment overall, is the moment that, you know, the show, I kind of really liked the show when I started watching it, but the moment I fell head over heels in love with it is when I fucking heard Radiohead being played in the season finale in some of the closing moments. So Radiohead is my most favoritist band ever. They are the best. I will fight anyone.
Wait, I thought you were going to fight people over 9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails is like one of my favorites, but the pinnacle of excellence of everything is Radiohead. And I will bare knuckle brawl you, fisticuffs, even in my weakened state where I'm hurt. Oh, I might be a little bit more dangerous
and under
when I'm
the
in pain.
influence.
Yeah, like, because you're not feeling any pain.
It's got some tramadol going. Got my cranberry juice going. So I'm just like, whoo. But
ready for a fight.
So it's great. So it's playing over the arc as the little port opens and Abby and Cain crawl out and they see the Earth for the first time. And then what's really great, it's also playing over when the dropship door opens up and Clark and everybody else kind of comes out. And the lyrics at that point in time are, "We hope that you choke, and just keep repeating over and over again." And it's like, oh, they're about to choke on this red gas that these strangers from wherever are about to throw at them. So I was in love with the show at that point. But now I'm like a ride or die bitch for the show because they used Radiohead. I will shank a bitch for this show. And I think I've done that verbally many a times in my reviews, and I've done it on Twitter. So can I get a fucking beardy, sexy, keen body pillow, CW? Jason Rothenberg, somebody, I just need that fucking body pillow. Come on.
I would say, like, piggybacking off of your sort of favorite moment, mine was definitely when sort of we got that the knockout gas, and then Clark sort of waking up in the sterile sort of quarantine area, and not knowing, like, because we've had mention of mountain men, but like we had no inclination that they were sort of this world. Like, it kind of gave me a very like, oh shit, is this all like an illusion? Is this all like a simulation? Like, where is this going? And then, of course, like this sort of moment where, and it was like a little heavy-handed, but I also really appreciate just the shot of Clark's bare feet touching the cold ground and then pulling them back up again, as in like suddenly she's a humanized girl again. And not someone who just barbecued like 300 people. Side note, do we think that like the dropship door opening and like these kids are hungry, right? Like, do we think that it smelled good? No, like I'm not saying that they like ate them, because obviously they got knocked out before they could, but like, do we think it smelled good?
I hope everybody
in honor
enjoyed
of
their
4th of July tomorrow.
4th of July.
Did it smell like
4th of July cookouts, everybody. Go enjoy those. Go enjoy your freedom. Go, what the Jesus
I
Christ,
do not
Joe.
believe that smelled good, Joe.
Oh my God. I don't know
Just
what burns
objectively
human
speaking,
flesh.
I don't think that it's.
But like, wouldn't it just smell like meat?
No. Okay.
I mean, it was burnt.
I
It
actually do know.
Oh.
So,
You've done this before.
How do I? So my brother, when he was in the army, he was an X-ray tech, and he basically, had to X-ray all sorts of things when he was working at the hospital. And he said the two things that smelled the worst were burnt human flesh and bloated humans. So probably,
but does the burnt human flesh, does that include hair? Like, because I think that's probably the issue, is like the smell of burning hair, not necessarily flesh, right?
No, I don't know. I think he was talking about like dead bodies, like burnt up to a crisp dead bodies that he had to.
It's not just flesh. I mean, it's bones and everything.
All that shit up in there.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going
Brains
outside and like, oh, come squirt some mustard on this grounder dog that we just made. Jesus Christ, Joe, this is taking a turn.
Wait, whoa. You are of the like farm station cannibal palooza team.
Look,
and suddenly like I pose a hypothetical, I wonder what it smelled like, and I'm the bad guy.
Look, dude. I don't go into detail about it. I don't like think too deeply. You put like some background thought into this. But no, I'm assuming it smells pretty bad. Didn't Clark actually cover her nose at one point with her sleeve?
But could that also just be like, A, it's really smoky, B, maybe it smells like jet fuel, or C, like she is also horrified by the sight of human skulls charred to a crisp, and she's expecting that Bellamy and Finn were, part of that.
Or anybody got a slice of American cheese so I can make a burger real quick.
Really, we're gonna go with Kraft singles? Like, I feel like Clark should be fancier. Like, she's like a Munster kind of girl.
Look, people who poo-poo on the American cheese, you can just go fuck right off. Like, you didn't eat cheeseburgers growing up with that plastic-ass cheese on your McDonald's burgers, please.
To be fair, as a child, I was more of a McNuggets person. Like, if we're being honest.
Yeah, they didn't really have McNuggets when I was growing up. I guess different generation. I wasn't as privileged as you. I'm like,
so I should check it.
Not of the Nug generation, apparently. I guess I'm just not special like you.
Did they have toys when you were a kid? Or did you just get like a block of wood and told to use your imagination?
They did have toys, and the thing with those toys was they didn't give a fuck about choking
Oh no, that was
hazards
the
or
best.
shit. I mean, if there was like a little gun in there that shot something that could put your eye out, that was fine.
Don't
that was
worry
like
about
a
it.
collector's item. Yeah, we weren't fucking pussies back in the day. Sorry, I know you hate that word, Joe, but
No, it's fine in that context. It's
fine in that context. You don't like it in the other vagine context. Okay, I get it.
Anyway, what's your favorite scene, Shine?
I think we already covered that, guys.
Already covered that. So favorite quotes then. Let's talk about some of our favorite quotes. Of course, mine is "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." Foreshadowing up the ass, down the ass, in the ass sideways. Foreshadowing all over the place.
I liked not one, but two game over mans.
I caught those
game
too.
over mans.
I caught those.
And maybe it's like, for those who don't know, it's very heavily featured in the movie Aliens, which is a great pro-female leader ass kicker movie starring Sigourney Weaver. It was great. But like for them to use it twice when, if we're being honest, Skaikru are aliens. You know, if we're going for actual definitions, I enjoyed that, and then I also love the conversation between Clark and Raven, where Clark tells her that she would pick her first.
Yeah,
and like I didn't appreciate it as much the first time watching it, but now that I have an appreciation for both of those characters, like I can totally see the Princess Mechanic shippers squealing with delight at that conversation. I kind of really hope that for season 4 we get more interaction between them, because I think that as actors they do have really good scene chemistry together.
They do, and I miss their working together moments. We got a lot of tension, jealous looks, a lot of the stuff that we don't really like and associate with teen CW shit, and not a lot of the good stuff that we want out of Princess Mechanic. So I hope you're right that season 4 brings those two closer together in any way they want to do it. I'm open.
I mean, like, I just want them to, like, interact more. Like, when they actually got over when the whole Finn thing was put behind them and they, like, were just, two characters on a mission, like, I thought their interactions together were great.
They were fun.
Yeah, anyway.
And what about you, Shaheen?
I had a few. So I think when Wick is turns to Candace is like, "What a bitch!" Talking about Diana. What a bitch! My mom voted for her.
That's a great one. I miss Wick.
Yeah.
Right, like, why not just recast him? Not to be whatever. Like,
apparently there was a problem behind the scenes that.
Right, but like, why not just have the character still?
Recasting is weird. He was such a minor character that he did need to be recast.
I mean, if it's a moral issue, then I don't know if
What else?
So we talked about Kane saying no one else can die because of me. Also, in line with my anti-grounder propaganda, Lincoln acknowledging what my people are doing to yours is wrong. Thank God one grounder realizes that what they're doing is wrong. And that one guy is a traitor. From here on out, he is considered a traitor because he doesn't want to murder people.
Getting on to some of the interesting tidbits that
You
we
guys
have.
are like, no comment.
Well, I don't want to get into another our
Heated
grounders good or bad.
conversation.
Yeah, because
I don't want to get into that either.
I barely tracked that conversation, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't know what I'm saying right now. But I'm just going to keep talking. And that's not a good thing. Some of the interesting tidbits. So you already talked about, Joe, Tristan coming in and taking over.
Yeah. I think that the only thing really left is the Clark Griffin concussion watch.
Yeah, I have her at 2 now.
Like times that, well, didn't she, wait. Like, are we talking, I guess concussion should like be all encompassing of unconscious, in which case it's been a lot. Like
a concussion is a very specific brain trauma. Just falling unconscious is not like concussion. Like if she goes crazy in season 4, by the way, she could go crazy in season 4 and we're proposing it right now. This is the genius of our podcast, guys. This is why you cannot miss May We Geek Again. Because of the what is the injury called with the repeated concussions? Well, whatever. So concussions to me are very specific. So yeah,
I could like jump
have
on
her
the
at
train if I.
I have her at 2 concussions.
So
She's
you're
been
counting
unconscious a
every
lot.
time someone hits her on the head, you're counting that as a concussion?
Yes.
I don't. Is that true? Like every time someone hits you on the head, is that a
No.
It
concussion?
depends on how hard you get hit.
You have to
Right,
you have
so,
to
like-
pass the concussion protocol for it to be not a concussion,
Mm-hmm.
or for you to be cured of the concussion. But not every hit on the head is a concussion. Like,
You know what we didn't talk about? And this just occurred to me? Murphy straight up killing a fuck ton of kids.
oh yeah, Murphy. We totally
I just
glossed
realized
over
we did
Murphy.
not even
he,
talk about-
He killed a fuck ton of people, and he hung Bellamy. He was great, and he shot Raven.
Yeah, like I feel like of MVPs,
Dude.
I'm sorry, let me actually revoke Dark Clark. I'm gonna give it to Murphy. Like shitlord Murphy was like on his game. And it kind of foreshadowed honestly what happened with Carl Emerson Mount Weather security detail of like, don't let a bitch go. Like they will come back. That is the bad idea. Like don't
I was just like,
oh shit. Yeah.
I was just like, Murphy is learning about restraint. Is practicing with the boundaries of restraint.
He does specifically only target those who did him wrong, which I guess to give him some sort of credit. But yeah, he does really fuck some people up.
Yeah. Murphy is not the one to be like, you kind of see that and you're like, there's something smart and terrifying about him.
And it didn't look like he had a plan, did it? Like, what was he gonna do if Jasper hadn't seen him? Was he just gonna kill those guys and those two guys and then that's it, let it go, or was he gonna take revenge
Bellamy
on
was still
Bellamy
always
also?
on his list.
It looked like he.
Oh my god, he's the Arya Stark of the 100.
Oh my god, he totally is.
Yeah,
He
it didn't
morphs
look
into
like he
different
had a plan.
characters. He's Flamekeeper Murphy. He's like Dr. Murphy. He's Follower Murphy. He's totally Arya. Wow.
Listeners, you can't go anywhere else and get this type of insight. Murphy is the Arya Stark. A boy has no name, or a boy
I mean, he
is no
didn't
one.
for a while, right? We didn't find what his name was for a while, right? We didn't find out that he was John, right?
Well, I don't know.
No, we knew from the pilot actually.
No, never mind.
Yeah, so I think he probably would have like hung out and been like on the down low, and then gone after Bellamy when the opportunity presented itself, and then been like, if he got away with that, he would have been fine. He'd been like, I'm good, until somebody crosses him again, and then he's like, recites his list every night before he goes to bed. Yeah, Murphy was a big, huge agent of chaos in these last 5 episodes, because he brought the grounder flu with him as well. I mean, he was just like the smallpox blanket, killed a bunch of people. He hung Bellamy, he shot Raven.
And then he
in
disappeared into the night.
And then in season 2, it's just like, I guess you're good with us again? I don't know. Yeah, they've got like strange rules for forgiveness in this world. Can we put the Clark concussion watch at 2? That's what I'm thinking it is. Other interesting tidbits. Okay, so real talk, guys. Real talk. I think I watched the finale last night, and this might be the drugs, but
Good preface.
and the pain and discomfort that I'm in. But I seriously, you guys, I teared up when the Blakes separated. Like, I legit had moisture coming out of my eyes. And this show doesn't do this to me a lot. I find other shows a bit more impactful for me emotionally than this particular show. But I really enjoyed that moment where where Bellamy said, I told you that the worst thing to happen to me was you being born. But the truth was, you were the best thing that happened to me. Oh my God.
No, it's totally the drugs. It was so heavy for me. Like, it was like I remember distinctly like groaning at the TV about that.
Oh, for
like, I was
fuck
just like,
you. Fuck you, you emotionless robot. It was a good scene.
I mean, I'm also an only child, so it could be either one of those reasons. But I was just like, ugh, God. Shaheen, did you have feeling about it?
I think we've established that neither of you have feelings.
Team robot, team robot, team robot.
No, I didn't cry or anything, but it was yeah, I guess I had feelings.
Yeah, I would love to see
I
what
just,
that looks
I
like.
just still one thing that I don't get about. I have a peculiar view about family, which is basically friends that you didn't choose. So if you really like, if you can't stand one of your family members, I don't see the point of sticking around them. This kind
Well,
of
you do-
drama
you
is always
don't.
like, yeah. So like,
you
yeah,
you don't, but obviously the Blakes are true family. They say things to hurt one another out of their own pain. It's not like they are truly estranged from one another at this point in time. Trust me, from somebody who is estranged from family and has chosen to not associate with people who I just happen to share blood with, there are some very different dynamics going on between real life, get the fuck out of my life, you're a toxic piece of shit, versus the Blakes.
I mean, I guess because this kind of thing happens on shows, like, you ruined my life, but I'm still gonna ruin my life again to save you or whatever because
Well,
you're my brother. And it's like, why? That
but it
guy
wasn't
is
true.
an asshole. Just don't.
It wasn't true.
No, I'm not saying it's true in this particular case necessarily. So yeah, when they were saying to each other like,
I hate you. When my life ended when you were born, that was just kind of
Belly
a
throwing
little
a temper tantrum.
a little extreme. Yeah, that wasn't really what they meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people saying hurtful things to lash out in anger, but they don't really mean it. I mean,
Yeah.
this is elementary school stuff, guys. So
I like that there's
I don't know,
tension
we
between
need to-
them, but
yeah, I mean, the tension is fun and all, but I found this
everything
moment
is kind of
affecting.
exaggerated on this show.
Maybe
Everything.
maybe it is. Maybe it is the drugs. But I like that moment. So, did we have any actually moments besides the one that I broke in with earlier?
I had one. I
Okay.
don't know how good this is, but
I paid very close attention to the guy's armor, the guy that Clark killed.
Oh, of
I
course
was
you
like,
did. Jesus.
because she tricked him to like open his armor or whatever it was around his neck and on his body that was protecting him. She tricked him by asking him like, how many kills do you have? And so he opened the thing, but I feel like the place that Clark ended up cutting him wasn't even protected in the first place. The way that armor was built. So
I don't
yeah.
think that was the point. I think Killmark's introducing us to the Killmark's thing might have been the point.
of
Not
course,
exposing
of course.
his throat. So,
I mean, it serves in the story. It's like Clark wanted to do this, but we are also being introduced to this concept. Yeah.
yeah. So that's not the greatest. I think our actuallys are kind of lagging this week. So sorry, guys.
Sorry, listeners.
Sorry, listeners, we have failed. So our next episode 5, will be covering season 2, episodes 1 through 4. I just want to remind everybody to tweet us questions or comments at May We Geek Again on Twitter. We're also on Facebook at May We Geek Again. You'll notice that I'm not including the dub stuff in there because I got
Good job.
basted by Joe last time. Like I'm old.
You got no, schooled, educated.
No, I got insulted and made to feel bad, but that's fine as long as you made yourself feel good. I mean, I guess that's the whole point of it all. So we're in the midst of kind of this death valley of TV right now in the summer. You guys have any TV shows to recommend, either on TV right now or stuff to watch on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, etc.?
I'm watching Better Call Saul, or I finished, so that was fun.
Have you started 12 Monkeys yet?
No, not yet.
Sigh.
A lot of what I watch is I don't know if it's technically TV. I watch live streams and recorded videos of people playing video games, which is probably like the awesomest way to waste your time, if that's your thing, and that's my thing. So
That's okay. You're on
Yeah.
Twitch. You're watching Twitch.
I think wasting time is a very awesome thing to do. So yeah,
That's all I ever do.
I
in
watch
my
them on
time.
Twitch, on YouTube, and then I play them sometimes because
I
they're
will
awesome.
admit to watching Hearthstone on
So.
Twitch. Well, occasionally. So
But Better Call Saul is
This is a good show.
Yeah, Better Call Saul. It's I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but it's fantastic. It dips its toe enough into the whole Breaking Bad universe but feels like a completely separate show. And I don't think you have to have a background in Breaking Bad to watch Better Call Saul. I mean, there's some stuff that's going to happen that will tie the two shows together, but I don't think it's a necessary precursor to watching Better Call Saul. Joe, what are you watching?
Still watching 12 Monkeys. Finished Winona Earp, which for people who, if you're considering it, because it's another show on Sci-Fi, it's sort of like Buffy meets Gilmore Girls with like a splash of Fargo, is kind of how I would describe it.
Fargo. I think Fargo would roll over in its grave and slap you.
If we're talking about like big, expansive, like wilderness things, and it's cold, and people are bundled up, and
that's just winter.
That's just North Dakota, man.
That's North Dakota. Yeah, that's North Dakota.
You ask me what I'm watching. I tell you what I'm watching, and we're a couple episodes into Outlander. Which, if we're going to talk about them kidnapping a healer, apparently this is a common theme among primitive societies. When you find someone who might know a little something about keeping people alive, you want to kidnap them. So, this is what I've learned.
Yeah, so pro tip, if ever you're going to be part of an apocalyptic society or be shot back in time, have some fucking healing skills, because you won't be killed off. They will assimilate you into their society. And in Outlander's case, you'll have a lot of sex.
I haven't gotten to the sex yet. I've been told about the sex. I have not gotten to the sex yet.
Sex all over the place.
Apparently, I'm waiting.
Question.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Speaking of healers, when Anya says our healer is gone, does she mean Nico or does she mean Lincoln?
That is so weird and unclear. I have no idea. I think that's actually.
I mean, there's nothing indicating that, like, there's nothing contradicting that she means Nico, but it's like, was he
Lincoln
permanently
a healer,
gone?
Yeah, I think Lincoln was a healer.
I don't know. He had some stuff with him. He had some medicine, and he was buddies with Nico, so maybe he just has medicine around because he learned a couple of things from Nico and, whatever.
Maybe each village has a healer, so when we're talking about tree crew and healers, there's more than one. That is my only assumption as far as how they could get past that discrepancy. Because it doesn't because Nico is.
When you want to have more than one, like
per village,
you want to have healers per village.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure Sean could go into why grounders are the worst and their societal makeup sucks dick. But
I kind of thought that I kind of rationalized it by maybe Nico is the healer and Lincoln was in training, and now they're both. Nico is for some reason unknown gone, and Lincoln is a traitor because he's peaceful. So
yeah,
I mean, shouldn't healers be peaceful? Like, is that not? Did the Hippocratic Oath not survive the apocalypse?
Yeah.
Do we?
Probably not. So I am watching 12 Monkeys as well. It just keeps getting better and better and better. I legit cried at the end of the last episode.
You've been crying a lot lately. You have some feelings about things.
Well,
and
I think 12 Monkeys, shut up. 12 Monkeys does really great character building. They spend a lot of time with the characters and the relationships between them, probably better than. There are a lot of shows that do it better than The 100, to be honest with you, because the 100's cast is so sprawling, and they can't fit all this stuff in. But I mean, there were some really legit emotional moments, and good news, 12 Monkeys has been renewed for season 3. So woot woot. So I can't wait to see who the big bad's going to be in season 3. And then new show alert, also on the Sci-Fi Network.
How's Killjoys?
Killjoys is fucking fun-tastic. I just made that up on the spot. It's got a female kick-ass lead and 2 male leads. One is Aaron Ashmore, who is the cutest person on the face of the fucking earth. I could just do many
Squeeze
things
his
with
little
him.
cheeks.
Yes, and so they play bounty hunters, but obviously there's a deeper backstory to everybody in the show. And season 2 just started this past Friday. They're doing a lot of expanding of the secondary roles within the show, which is really good because they have some fun and interesting auxiliary characters that they bring in. But it's one of those shows that can be dark, but it doesn't. It can go dark, but it doesn't dwell there, and it has a lot of fun, lighthearted moments. So it kind of hits that sweet spot of action and dark and character development and fun times and big laughs and stuff like that. So love it. I watched 1 episode of Lady Dynamite on Netflix. It's a comedy.
A weird show.
It's a comedy starring Maria Bamford, and it is fucking psychotic, loony awesomeness. It's funny, it's weird, it breaks the fourth wall in ways that it don't make any sense because it'll then not break the fourth wall when it should. It's just really fucking fun. And Maria Bamford, I think this is like an autobiographical story where she had to commit herself for mental illness. So this is kind of her story of it all. And it's just fantastic. I think she's a great underrated comedian. And then the other thing I want to recommend is Bo Burnham's latest stand-up on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, but it's really good. I haven't seen a lot of him before. He's very, very different from other comedians, and he's like the unhappiest comedian on the face of the earth, but he'd never let you know it. So I recommend that too. It's an interesting watch, especially how he kind of ends it, and it's kind of an interesting, introspective, makes you start thinking type of stand-up show, basically. So enjoyed that a lot. And of course, my guilty pleasure, Big Brother, yeah, Team Frank, go. But anyway,
I understood some of those words.
Yeah. But so I think this wraps it up, guys. We can go to North Dakota and like make a casserole and pretend we're in Fargo.
Like, I don't need your shit about
hey there,
Winona Earp. Like, you watch it. Don't
watch
pretend
it.
that you don't.
The last thing I thought, I know all of these fucking shows are filmed in Canada, so I'm like, oh, that's probably Saskatchewan or some other place that has a lot of open space and snow. I don't fucking know these things, but I'm not like, oh, this is like Fargo. Either the TV show or the movie. I can't tell which. Golly, it's so hard to tell.
We have just like completely lost any Middle America audience members with your wildly offensive Midwestern accent.
I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Chicago, y'all. I'm like, I eat Chicago dogs, okay? Go Cubs. Go Bears. Go Bulls.
P.S. That is not pizza. Like, we'll get into this another time.
Fuck you. That is the best
Deep dish
pizza.
is not pizza.
Oh, you are so wrong.
All right, until, what are we doing for next time?
Season 2, episodes 1 through 4. Hey guys, it's Jen here with a quick programming note. We got a little distracted at the end of this podcast and unfortunately forgot to record a proper outro. Sorry guys. But I wanted to thank y'all for listening. Please join us in 2 weeks for our May We Geek Again episode 5. And I believe Joe has a message for y'all.
I have to pee.